Today's video was sent in by Tim. Tim, he works inside of a social media office, and he is responsible for going ahead and finding specialty cars for different influencers. Um, but his team eventually grew so big that they needed to go ahead and hire an assistant manager. This assistant manager was not that great, and so he maliciously complied with one of his demands to get him fired. And so let's get into this story. So, as I was saying, Tim works inside of this office where he went ahead and was responsible for finding rare and old cars. Um, he used to work with a just specialty team on finding different items, but eventually this social media office became so big that they were required to go ahead and hire more and more people and make specialty teams. And so Tim, he was responsible for going ahead and finding these cars, and he was really known, and he would find specialty cars faster than anyone else and for cheaper than anyone else. And so now he was going ahead and finding more and more cars that were bigger, and his billings became a lot higher. So this company decided to go ahead and make a specialty car company like team. And they told him that, yeah, he was great at his job, but the problem is he hasn't been working at this company for quite long enough to go ahead and be a full manager of the team, but he'll go ahead and basically be the manager. And so he was known as the manager on this team, and eventually, after a certain number of years, he'll be able to go ahead and be promoted. But because of the company politics behind it, they have to go ahead and hire and promote someone from inside to go ahead and be the manager. So they ended up promoting Bob. Bob has been in this company for a decade, and he's been with this company since like basically the beginning of YouTube kind of days. And he was not that great, and he has allegations against him in the past, right? But these were years ago, and the company ended up just like letting that go over time because he's been decent. Not amazing, but he's been at this company longer than anyone else, right? Even like the VPs and stuff hasn't been there for a decade because this is like a new industry kind of thing. They went ahead and promoted him because he's been here for so long to being the manager. But everyone knew that Jim was the real manager in practice, kind of thing. So he went ahead and started just being friendly with Jim to begin with on this team, but they got along as friends for a few months, right? And everything worked out normally, right? The team wasn't like bad in any way, and it would continue acting the same way as before. But in time, he started acting like a strict manager who doesn't like, different things, right? And he implemented some like strict management practices, like you can't be X number of minutes late, right? Or else he's going to go ahead and fire you, and he's going to keep tally points and whatnot. But this didn't affect Jim, right? Jim, he was great at showing up to the office on time, before and after lunch, and everything like that. And so he would continue just acting normally. He didn't care that, he would implement a strict dress code because he already wore that dress code. He didn't care that he implemented this tally points. He didn't care that they had a minimum billing because it didn't affect him, right? But every quarterly meeting, they would go ahead and look at everyone's points. And somehow, during this time, Bob, he racked up more of these tally points about how bad he is at the team compared to Jim. And Jim, he went ahead and just continued doing what he normally did, right? But he had the least amount of points on the team by far, and he would still bill the same way as before. And so upper management was getting mad at Bob. If you're going to go ahead and implement these strict rules, you have to follow them yourself, right? And so, breathing down his neck, he ended up going ahead and getting mad at Jim and would start going ahead and making up lies about him, right? He would say that he's billing too much for lunches, right? But he's meeting with these famous people who own these really old cars, and he has to go ahead and buy them a dinner to go ahead and talk to them every time. And upper management knows this, right? They've done similar things in the past to go ahead and get like some land, right? They know what's happening. And so they don't really know, but they're telling him like, "Hey, why are you going ahead and leaving so many comments on him?" Right? And so Jim, he's being told, Bob is leaving these bad reviews for no reason on your name. It's kind of weird, right? And so it wasn't that big of a deal to him because, again, everyone knew what was happening. Everyone knew that he wasn't going ahead and wasting any money. He wasn't going ahead and showing up late. He was doing everything he's supposed to do. And so it's been about 6 months now of Bob being on the team. And now he's overhearing every once in a while that, well, this new kid, he's going ahead and making up lies like, oh, you're going ahead and talking about doing this new kid's girl and whatnot, right? But these are all lies. He hasn't even talked to this guy like that much. He's just doing his normal thing. And so this new guy, he's walking up to Jim and he's like, "Hey, Bob told me you're talking about doing my girl. You're talking about going ahead and doing all these crazy things with my family. What's going on?" And he's like, "I'm not talking about that at all, man. I don't talk to the group. I'm just doing my own thing, trying to get as many billing because that's how we make money here." He's like, "Yeah, I agree. But it's kind of weird that you're doing that. Right? Why is Bob trying to go ahead and make us mad at each other?" He's like, "I don't know." But he's like, "I'm not going ahead and making fun of you. I'm not going ahead and talking about you for the main thing, man. If you need help, I'll help you. But other than that, like, I don't care what you do." And so they both know what's going on now, but it was weird that Bob's doing this. And it would happen with every single one of these team members, right? And some of these team members, they wouldn't talk to Jim about it. But he knows what's happening because they're hiring a bunch of people, and half of them will walk up to him and say this. And if half of the team members are walking up saying the same lies from Ben, Ben would go ahead and say all these same lies, right? You know that, well, he's probably doing this with all of the new people. And so when, all the new people would go ahead and one would hate him before anything happens, right? And he was upset that this is happening. These new people would be mad at him immediately, and they would go ahead and leave bad reviews because every single person can leave a bad review on these people. Like, hey, these crazy things are happening, right? So the company would go ahead and see, oh, you're saying all these weird comments about every single new person. What's going on? But they would go ahead and check the cameras. Like, you're not even in the office when uh, Bob is saying all these crazy things and telling these people what's going on. And so, at the end of the day, what's going on? And so he would go ahead and just say, "I'm going to go ahead and not even talk to these new people. And he told the upper management this when they talked to him. He's like, okay, don't talk to the new people. We'll see that you're not even talking to them. And these new comments were still coming in from people that weren't there at the time, right? And so they know, hey, that's kind of weird. Why are you trying to go ahead and do this? And so, at the end of the day, right, that's weird. Why are you trying to go ahead and make your team constantly mad at each other? And so now they would go ahead and see, well, why are you going ahead and doing this? Right. And then he was still billing the same amount. And so now, you know, 6 months later, he was hearing all these crazy comments from. And every quarterly meeting, he was going ahead and trying to take care of all the credit that this guy was actually doing himself. And he was upset with him. And so he decided, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and mess with this guy a little bit. Right. I'm going to just do what he says because he wasn't good at this shop. Right. And so one of the main things he was saying was, hey, you can't go ahead and bill for so many dinners. And so he stopped taking the clients out for dinners. And they stopped going ahead and doing that. Right. But it's now in writing, you can't go ahead and bill for dinners. He can't afford to go ahead and pay for these crazy Michelin star dinners. Right. And so the company, they have the budget to go ahead and pay for these Michelin star dinners, and they would pay for them because it makes sense to pay for these Michelin star dinners if going ahead and paying for them would go ahead and let them use these products, and these products you can go ahead and bill out to the clients, right? That's just like basic business, right? And now they would go ahead and stop getting these clients, right? It's going to be a lot harder to go ahead and get these clients to go ahead and sell them the car for a few days to go ahead and let them use it if you're not even going to go ahead and buy me dinner, right? I'm not going to go ahead and sit down with you. And so they went ahead and stopped selling them the vehicles, and then they couldn't get as many vehicles. And so now, over time, right, these clients would just stop getting the vehicles they need. And now they went ahead and just stopped getting the vehicles, they couldn't bill as much, and the scores would tank. So at the next quarterly meeting, at the 9 month point, he had a bunch of these things where, like, you can't bill for dinners, you can't bill as much for cars, you can't do this, you can't do this. And so he showed all these things, like, why is your team so far down? And so Jim showed, well, Bob told all of us we can't do this stuff. And I'm the highest biller, but my bills are 80% down because I can't go ahead and bill for these small things. And now the clients couldn't make as much money, right? And so they stopped getting as much money. And so Ben would go ahead, he ended up getting in trouble, right? They were kind of upset with him about the first thing, and now they're even more upset about him for this thing. And so they told him, you're on your last straw, right? And so it was just Ben and Jim in this meeting. And so Jim went ahead and said, okay, just let us go back to the way it was before, right? You don't make fun of me. You don't go ahead and say these crazy things about me. I'll let you be. We'll go back to the way it was, right? And he's like, no. Because at the end of the day, the upper management, they like you, and I don't want to lose my job. If I make you look bad enough, they'll go ahead and keep me in this position. Because at the end of the day, he knows after you get a certain number of hours worked at this company, you will become a manager. But if you have enough bad things against you, you can't go ahead and be a manager, right? And so that's what he told him, right? I'm going to go ahead and make you look so bad, you can't even keep this job. So he's like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to go ahead and help you out. I'm not going to go ahead and go back to the way it was before. And so he decided, all right, done. And he just decided, okay, I'm going to go ahead, continue doing as best of my job as possible. And he didn't take back the basic things, right? He never took back the fact that you can go ahead and bill for these dinners. You can't go ahead and bill as much for cars. You can't go ahead and do these basic tasks for the job. He didn't take those back, right? And so the end of the day, right, the next quarterly meeting came up. He's still going ahead and saying these crazy things to the new hire. He's still doing all this stuff, and all of the upper management is seeing this. They fired him, right? And so Jim, he's wondering, is he the asshole? And at the end of the day, I don't think he is, right? What do you guys think? Because if you are in this situation, why would you want to go ahead and deal with a middle manager who's just trying to get you fired because you're too good at the job and he's terrible? He shouldn't be a manager, right? This guy is so bad that he wants to go ahead and make you look bad, right? Why keep him around? That's weird. You know, you're not good at your job? Okay. But I'm good at mine. Why go ahead and mess with you, right? So I don't think you're in the wrong here, man. I think you're doing just fine. I think you should just keep on putting in the work. And now that you have a new middle manager, right? You know, it sucks. So you're not the middle manager, the assistant manager, or whatever. That you should go ahead and just put in the work. And as they've said before, right? Now that these rules are gone, just go back, bill a ton of hours, and you can go ahead and become that manager if you want, right? So just go ahead and put in the time, man. I believe in you. All right. Goodbye, guys. I love you guys. Like and subscribe if you made it all the way through. If you want to go ahead and submit your stories, leave them in the comments or go ahead and DM me. I have a Discord server that you can go ahead and put in these, right? I would love to go ahead and do it because I love putting in unique stories for you guys. Right? If you guys want some new unique stories, go ahead and send them to me. And